been waiting for. It's time!
And with that, we welcome you to SD Radio, Episode 9. Tonight, I'll be joined by Positive Vig, a.k.a. Doc, C. Doc, whatever you want to call him. He wants you to call him. Doc, how we doing tonight?
Excellent, man. Excellent. How are you?
Good. It's fun to do a pod with another member of SD Sports. It's not that I don't like the baseball guys, but it's nice to, do something a little different.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, on tonight's episode, Doc and I are going to be breaking down UFC 196, mainly the main card and a couple fights off the main card. Very interesting card from what, they originally planned on happening with Conor facing Dos Anjos with the foot injury. We'll get into all that later. But let's just kind of kick it off, getting to know each other a little bit in our UFC or MMA history. What kind of background do you have in MMA?
Well, I'm probably going to be dating myself a little bit, but first time I watched the UFC, probably back in 1995. It was just one day. Back then it was like a one-day tournament, and it was pretty cool, man. My buddy just told me about it, and I'd never heard of it, and the internet wasn't back then, so it wasn't in full flow. So we watched the pay-per-view. I was in the Navy at the time, and I was in a house with it was kind of like a frat house kind of deal, and I was just like entranced with all the different styles of fighting, the jiu-jitsu, the kempo karate, sambo, pit fighting, wrestling, and then just watching Royce Gracie make guys 2 times the size tap out like nothing, and putting Dan Severn in a triangle choke, and it was just amazing just to see that stuff. And I mean, I know a lot of people, a lot of MMA fans, they probably watched the Bellator shit show that was on a couple weeks ago. If you're new to the sport, or if you're young, like maybe in your 20s and whatever, and you've never seen Royce Gracie fight before in his early days, do yourself a favor and YouTube him, man, because his footage is just unbelievable. The guy was just the consummate, just unbelievable Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner. The guy was so dominant, man. The guy was just unbelievable. So that's what really kind of got me into the sport, and ever since then I've loved it. So it's really evolved, and I'm happy to see it evolve. I'm happy to see it go mainstream somewhat. You just seen boxing die and UFC rise above, and I think the sport's it's just where it's going to go. It's who knows, but it's good to see.
Yeah, no, I like a lot of things you just mentioned there. It is crazy when you look at how you say and the sport has evolved, because when it started back in the Gracie days, and like you mentioned Dan Severn, who was a beast in his own right, and you had even Ken Shamrock, who you said on that Bellator card, he was a really good UFC fighter. People should go back and look at some of those early cards. Go look back at a lot of the old Pride stuff, like Vanderlei. You said those one-day tournaments. Vanderlei was beating up heavyweights, and it was amazing to watch. It's not what you see these days. Not saying what we see these days is bad. The quality, especially in the UFC, is pretty good the majority of the time. But it is very exciting to see where it's going. I was kind of similar to you. I peek in every now and again, but when I really got into it was when I was in college, and I believe it was season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter, and I know it got a lot of people, so it worked, and it got me hooked. Was the main event of the fight with Griffin and Bonner.
What a war!
If you have not seen Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner, Ultimate Fighter Season 1 main event, you need to do yourself a favor. After you watch Royce Gracie fights, go watch that fight, because that is what put UFC on the map, in my opinion. And it's just continued to grow through there, and that's why you see those guys still kind of get love from Dana, because Dana's, as much as people have their perception of Dana, he understands what got him where it is, and that's why you see Conor get to do things he does. He knows where his cash cows are, and he takes care of them. And it is great to see where it's coming, where it's going. Like you said, it's in my opinion, and it's still kind of a debate for some, it's overtaken boxing, in my opinion.
By far.
Yeah, like growing up, I remember, you know, being with my dad and all his friends, and anytime there was a main event boxing fight, it was like we're going to barbecue or playing poker, and all those kids would kind of watch in the distance. Now you don't get that for any boxing anymore, maybe one fight a year. But UFC,
Right.
you get a group of buddies almost every big pay-per-view card meeting up, and you're watching it. So it's good. It's really good.
Yep.
That kind of brings us in. You mentioned a couple really good MMA moments. I mentioned Bonner, Griffin. If you had to pick 1, 2, 3, just a couple, whatever, what's one of your best MMA moments that you just always remember when certain things happen?
Two things come to my mind. The first one was in Pride when Rampage, when Ricardo Rona had Rampage in a triangle choke, and oh, it was just amazing, and it just happened like 5 seconds before the commentator, I forget his name, but he used to call the Strikeforce fights. I forget. But anyway, what? I'm sorry.
Was it Boss Rutan?
No, it was Boss Rutan was he was calling the fight with another guy.
Okay.
He kind of like talks exciting or whatever.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Mario Ronaldo. Yeah, that guy. He was like, and you know, Arona had him in the triangle choke, right? And Mario Ronaldo said something like, "I wouldn't be surprised if Rampage just picked him up and slipped." And then 5 seconds later, on cue, Rampage just takes him up and just slams him down and knocks him out. That was just unbelievable, my man. I mean, that was sick. And then my second memory was one of the best fights I've ever seen was Chael Sonnen, Anderson Silva, the first fight. That was just amazing.
The one that got away.
The one that got away for Chael, yeah. But what a fight! I mean, that was one of the most hyped fights in UFC history, and you know, what a fight that was, man.
Yeah, I remember that one to a T. I was at my buddy's house, and we were all just kind of in shock going, okay, when's this other shoe going to drop? And it just never did. Like, Sonnen just dominated the fight. My buddy figured it was over with like a minute left. He went outside to have a smoke, and he sees through the sliding glass window when I just threw something across the room like, are you kidding me? Like, he just gave it away. Those, two great moments. That Rampage slam, I can still visually, like, I know exactly what you're talking about. That was epic.
Oh man, it was awesome. It was awesome.
But my number one moment, and literally, I'm a big man, and if you ever want to see me run around a house like a little school kid, it was the night that Dan Henderson basically went from the top rope and knocked out Michael Bisping at UFC 100.
Loved it.
It was the highlight of my UFC fandom because I've learned to embrace Michael Bisping. I kind of appreciate him now. Back then, I thought he was a pompous schmuck, and I could not stand him. And all I wanted was somebody to put him in his place. And when I was sitting on my buddy's couch, and the first one hits, and Bisping's out cold. Like, I was reading up on it again today. He still doesn't remember getting knocked out. It was that good. And then for good measures, because the ref never stopped it, it literally looked like Dan Henderson was going Jimmy Superfly Snuka off the top rope and just boom. It was epic.
Yeah. That was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah. I got one more. My third favorite moment. I'd call it my betting moment is when Holly Holm knocked out Ronda Rousey.
How could you not love that with the odds you probably got on that? What odds did you end up closing with on that?
I waited. I closed it. I believe it was plus 660 or something like that.
My goodness. Well, congratulations to that. That's
phenomenal.
That's a darn good one to enjoy. But there's so many moments, and like I said, I could just sit and talk about these for hours, but that's not what these people came to listen for. They wanted UFC 196, and we'll get there in a second. But there was a fight last week, or a set of fights, and it was the first time that the UFC did a whole card on their Fight Pass package on the internet. I was not able to watch any of these fights, and they were in London, and the pre-mentioned Bisping was the main event. You were able to catch some of these fights or kind of get a read on some of them or whatever happened. give us a little rundown of what took place last week on some of the big fights.
Well, I'll just recap the co-main event and the main event. Really, the co-main event was it was Jigard Mousasi. Man, I can't pronounce his name for some reason. Jigard Mousasi and oh God, what was the other guy's name? Talis Latis. And Jigard Mousasi was, well, they scored it. He won by unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. I don't know what judge was watching the guy who scored at 29-28. I don't know what fight he was watching, because Mousasi was just dominant in his striking, just sticking his jab whenever he wanted. Latis looked like a total mess at the end of the fight. That was pretty much, it was kind of boring. Brad Pickett, he also won via split decision. That was kind of controversial, but I think he kind of got a little home cooking there. That was the fight before the co-main event. But the main event, Bisping against Silva, that was the first time Silva had fought in about a year, because he was suspended for the performance-enhancing drugs. He flunked the drug test. Silva had flashes of his old self, but I don't know what it is, man. He just wasn't it wasn't as dynamic as striker as he usually was. His defense, his bobbing his head and stuff, I mean, that was pretty good. He did get knocked down once. I believe it was the end of the second round he got knocked down. Hey, Bisping won the fight. He earned it. Hats off to him. Silva just, I don't know. I don't think he has it anymore, Brian. I really don't. Just doesn't have it. I mean, he's not the same fighter. I think I think his age is catching up with him, and maybe his confidence a little bit. I mean, he's lost. He's lost 3 out of his last 4 fights. Granted, one was kind of a fluke with when Chris Weidman checked one of his leg kicks and broke his fibula or whatever. But I mean, it's sad to see, because I mean, everybody loves watching Anderson Silva fight. I mean, who can forget the destructive Muay Thai clinch, and he was given forget his name, the school teacher math teacher from Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, Charlie something or other.
No, it was Rich Franklin.
Oh, Franklin, gotcha.
And he had him in that clinch, and I mean, Franklin was like just out on his feet. But a phenomenal fighter, man. One of the best ever to enter the octagon at his prime. In his prime, I don't think anybody could beat him.
Nope.
But I think his time's passed. So a lot of good up and coming middleweights coming up. So I mean.
No, it's just the way the game goes. It's like I was reading that the stuff I was able to catch up on the event with. That's kind of the take-home message a lot of people had was, it seems like he had flashes of the old Spider, but then there's way too many flashes where he's just not there. And some are saying maybe some are saying he's just maybe not comfortable with the repaired leg, but a lot of people are saying exactly what you're saying. It might be time, but it's always hard for these guys. And it's like comparable to when I'll never forget it was when Chuck Liddell lost his chin, and I believe it was against Rampage, and Rampage hit him in the jaw, and it was just sack of potatoes. And then from then on out, it was like he lost once to Franklin, and not Franklin, it was Forrest Griffin, I think maybe, and. It was just, you could tell just every fight from then on out, and it just lost it. It's sad to see, like you said, because some of these guys are just legends and were so fun to watch. And Spider was that guy. And you're right, before that leg broke out, he was unstoppable. Literally, there was a time, and we said it with John Jones and some other guys. You don't know when they're going to lose, because there's just no one that's going to beat them. But everyone's got a shot. I won't ramble too much longer, but I can do that all night. But let's get to it. Let's get to UFC 196 live at the MGM Grand Saturday night. There are some fights on the Fight Pass undercard. Then there's a prelims on FS1, followed by a 5-fight main card on pay-per-view. Before we get into the main card, we each picked out a fight we're going to kind of give a quick rundown for on the prelims. What do you have in store, Doc?
I'm going to take a look at Brandon Thatch against CR Baduzara. Right now, let me look at the odds here. Baduzara is a pretty nice sized dog, and the thing about Thatch is that I mean, they both have one thing in common. They both beat Paulo Thiago, but Thatch is coming off 2 straight losses. One was to Benson Henderson. Henderson actually moved up in weight, and Thatch is kind of an imposing welterweight. He almost looks like a middleweight, but I just don't. I don't see what people think he's. I don't think he's all that. Let's just put it that way. I don't think he deserves to be that this big a favorite. I mean, we're looking at. I mean, look at the odds here. Thatch is a. Let's see here. He is a -300 favorite, and I will take Baduzara all day with that. Baduzara's got some power. He's a well-ranged, he's a well-rounded fighter. Thatch, he's mainly just a striker. Baduzara training with, I believe he's training with Golden Glory, was training with the Black Zillions. He's pretty well-rounded. I just don't. Thatch is just. I don't think he's well. I think he's kind of still raw. I don't think he's like that well-rounded of a fighter, and I think his chin's somewhat suspect. I just think Baduzara can catch him here, and I think just the price of the value at +225. I think I'm gonna have to go with Baduzara. There's no way I could lay -300 with Thatch. There's no way. His past performances have been. I mean, granted, Benson Henderson's a pretty, he's a pretty good fighter, but Gunnar Nelson pretty much took care of him. Gunnar Nelson's high-level jiu-jitsu, but Baduzara, I just think Baduzara can catch him, and I'm gonna take a shot with him.
Yeah, no, that's we kind of talked about it before we started the pod. That's the main, that's the final kind of, you could say, main event for the prelims. And it's just 2 guys that are just going to brawl. And literally, I think I wrote down on my notes for that fight is it's going to end in a KO. So take the under 2.5. It's probably heavily juiced. I didn't even look at that. And when you have a fight like that where it's literally one punch and it could go to either guy like a coin toss with odds like that, I can't blame you. So, definitely.
Yeah.
The fight I'm looking at is a little nostalgic, I guess you could say. It's it's the last fight on the early prelims on Fight Pass. Features Jim Miller and Diego Sanchez, 2 UFC veterans. It'll be the lightweight division. Sanchez is making his return to lightweight. He tried to make a featherweight appearance and just got destroyed by Ricardo Lamas. Both of these fighters have just been shells of themselves, but they're still so entertaining, and they show flashes. And like I said before, is Dana respects guys that compete and respects guys that got him to where they are. And no one sums that up better than Diego Sanchez. There's rarely a fight. There's rarely a fight, win or lose, when Diego's out there that he does not lay it all on the line. He usually is a bloody mess. If you will at least enjoy however long the fight is, you will enjoy that fight. And this is a really interesting fight with 2 different styles because Sanchez wants to brawl. He's gonna come at you with his southpaw stance, and he's gonna want to, jabs and strikes. He's gonna try to leg kicks and whatever. He's gonna try to keep it on the feet. Where he can stand on the feet and fight, but he wants to go to the ground. He's won 56% of his fights by submission, so and only 12 by KO. So he wants to get to the ground, and Diego is pretty good at preventing that. So this is a very interesting fight. Miller's 1-3 in his last 4. Diego's 4-6 his last 10. Everywhere I've been reading, it's not like it's necessarily, a loser finally gets out of the UFC, but nothing surprises me these days. There's always those updates where random guys get booted that you're just like, wow. But
Yeah.
I would imagine whoever loses would have to lay a really big egg to get booted. I think it's just going to be a very, very entertaining fight, and I don't know how it's on the Fight Pass unless it's the same reason why Bisping and Silva are on Fight Pass, is they're trying to get more people to watch Fight Pass and subscribe to Fight Pass, because this fight at worst should be on the prelims, if not in the thatch spot on the prelims. And I would even watch it over 1 or 2 of the main card fights. This fight has potential for fight of the night, and it's the 3rd fight of the evening. So, So this is going to be a good one, and like I said, this is one, as long as it stays on the feet, it's going to be a slugfest, and I think it goes to the decision, and I'll take the +110 dog and Diego Sanchez in decision on this one. I can't argue if someone wants Jim Miller. I think he's technically the better fighter, but on the feet, I like Diego, and I'm going Diego at +110.
Yeah. I think we're going to get a. I think you bring up a good point. I think we're going to get a real motivated Diego Sanchez. Let me ask you something. Did he change his name back to the Nightmare, or is he still the Dream?
Yeah, when I'm on UFC,
he was the Nightmare, and then he became the Dream. Now he's the Night. Is he the Nightmare again? I don't know.
They have him listed as the Nightmare again, and when Diego fights as the Nightmare, like literally, the first thing that comes to mind when I think Diego Sanchez is just pictures of his bloody face. He's just destroyed, and that's Diego in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, let's just say that his featherweight campaign was a nightmare. But
he had a dream, and it turned into a nightmare.
I'll agree with you there, man. And plus, I think he'll be the busier fighter. He's definitely going to bring the fight to Miller. Miller's not going to bring the fight to him. And I think he's going to keep it standing, and he's got decent takedown defense. I would go. I'd definitely go Diego. I mean, he's going to make the fight a lot more interesting, more than Miller's going to make the fight interesting. Both are brawlers. Both have, heart, a lot of heart. But I could see Diego winning by split decision or 29-28, something like that.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is I was reading stuff, looking back at past Diego fights and everything, and he's been winning a lot of fights lately by decision, and a lot of them are sketchy. So he has that in his back pocket somehow. There's like a lucky rabbit's foot somewhere along the line. So for some reason I see a fight going that way, you might as well go with the dog and see what happens.
Yep.
A couple more fights. I'm not going to break them down. I just want to bring the attention to them so people pay attention to them.
Sure.
The very first fight of the night on the Fight Pass prelims is Julian Erosa versus Teruto Ishihara. I probably butchered that name, but it won't be the last time I do that tonight. Erosa was just on The Ultimate Fighter. He was a runner. He finished 3rd. He didn't make the finals. Very good fighter. He looked way improved on his The Ultimate Fighter finale fight. So this will be kind of a big step up to see what he is. He's a -205 favorite. Not saying bet him, but keep an eye on that fight because he was very hyped coming into the UFC, and this will be an interesting kind of point to see if he starts making it or not. So keep an eye on that, and keep an eye on Eric Silva and Nordine Taleb.
Yeah, I was looking at that fight too.
That's the fight right before Brandon Thatch and Bahu Jazar. And it's another one just like the Thatch fight we talked about. It's going to be a barn burner. It's going to be a slugfest, likely to end in knockout. I took Silva, but again, he's a -235, so I never recommend laying juice like that. There's other ways to play it, parlay it, KOs. Just keep an eye on those fights. It should be entertaining.
Yep.
Okay, let's get to the main card. 5-fight main card that we talked about, and I heard it best on a radio show today. If someone described UFC 196 to you, let's even say 3 months ago, and said we're going to have 2 women's fights, a lightweight fight that's really no big names, and a main event that's not for the title. Would that really have grabbed anybody's attention? But everybody's excited about this part. So
yeah,
think of it that way. We're going to start it off with the -130 favorite, Amanda Nunes, against the even money dog and Valentina Shevchenko. Nunes is 11-4. Shevchenko is 12-1. What are you seeing going on in that fight, Doc?
Well, Nunes won four out of her last five fights. Her only loss was to Kat Zingano, which is really can't be ashamed of that. Zingano is a pretty good fighter. I remember seeing that fight. That was a pretty good fight. Shevchenko, world kickboxing champion, former world kickboxing champion. This is her second fight in the UFC, believe it or not. Second degree black belt in Taekwondo. My take on this is that Nunes very well rounded. She's got great jiu-jitsu. She's a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, brown belt in judo as well. I think Nunes is definitely the better well-rounded fighter. Of course, Shevchenko being the world kickboxing champ, she's definitely the better striker. But if Nunes gets her to the ground, this is going to be a wrap, and I think that's what's going to happen. Nunes got more UFC experience. This fight is actually, depending on where Ronda Rousey's head's at, who knows? Find a talk show, she's probably on it. But this fight, probably the winner of this fight is probably going to get the winner of the Holly Holm Miesha Tate fight. So I think this is for the #1 contender in the women's bantamweight division. So I like Nunes here. I like Nunes. She's the better fighter in my opinion, more well-rounded, more experience. She's really on a roll, man. She looked really impressive her last time out. She had a rear naked choke on I believe it was Sarah. I want to say, yeah, Sarah McMahon. Sorry, McMahon. Well, Sarah McMahon really nothing special. I think we know that, but yeah, I'm going to go with Nunes there.
Yeah, no, you hit pretty much everything there. The big thing I liked what you brought up there, and I had circled as well, is we don't know where Ronda's head's at, and obviously the UFC and everybody wants Ronda to face the winner of Holmes, Tate, and obviously they'd love it to be Holly Holm again, and there's storylines for days. But this is, in theory, the #1 contender fight for the women's bantamweight title. And as we saw before, Miesha Tate was the one that earned the bantamweight title fight, and Holmes took it over. So there's a lot of things that can happen. Dana White wants to make money. That's how it's going to work. But Nunes is a very, very powerful, athletic fighter. She's started training with America's top team, same place as champion Robbie Lawler. She keeps developing her striking ability, actually, by training down there, moving inside-outside combos to go with that great ground game you mentioned. Major concern to watch for with Nunes, though, is she works at a very, very fast pace, and she has been known to let that kind of wear her down in fights. So stamina can be a potential issue. I don't think it'll be, but it is something to kind of keep an eye on. If come the third round you're starting to kind of be like, uh-oh, that's a potential. Shevchenko, I remember writing about this for a preview when she came over and took the fight on short notice with Kaufman. She's a very, very talented kickboxer, Muay Thai fighter, southpaw. She does all that great stuff. Nothing to discount her, but I think, like you said, that experience for Nunes is a very big thing. The UFC experience, there's a lot of people that will tell you how valuable that is. And with a fight like this and the improvements that Nunes is making, I agree that if she can get this fight to the ground, I think she will, like you thought. So I think Nunes grinds this out and she wins by decision. That's where I'm looking at this one. Yep. All right. Let's go on to the next fight, which is kind of an interesting fight. You have a youngster in Corey Anderson, who's 8-1 and a -285 favorite. And I believe this is in the light heavyweight division, if I read that correctly. Yep, 205 light heavyweights. Facing off against the veteran Tom Lawler, who's 10-5. He's a +230 dog. I can see a few opinions on this fight, and I'm really curious to see what your opinion is before I let the cat out of the bag. What do you got?
I think Tom Lawler, tremendous fighter. I think he's, I just don't know what you're going to get out of Lawler. I just don't know. Corey Anderson's kind of an up and comer. He's won. Let's see.
Tough season.
Anderson's a blue belt. Anderson's he was a light heavyweight winner in Ultimate Fighter. Blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's kind of an up and comer, man. He's getting better and better at each fight. He's won 2 in a row. His only loss in the UFC is to a guy that's on the card after a fight that he's on the card after him. I just think he's the younger, more up and coming fighter. I think Lawler's kind of in the twilight of his career. I'm not going to play it or anything. It's not really a fight I really want to get invested in or anything, but I think Corey Anderson's probably the way to go here. I think he's younger. He's more hungry, better well-rounded, good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu. Lawler's a good fighter, man. He can make fights entertaining, but you just don't know which Lawler's going to show up. He's pretty inconsistent. So I'm going to go with Corey Anderson here. I'm not, like I said, I'm not getting invested in or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That's the hardest part about this, because Anderson is this up-and-comer guy, lots of buzz about him. People are thinking he could be like the next type, I'm not going to say John Jones, but kind of the next guy to compete in the 205 division and make a run and blah, 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 blah. And he's facing a very good veteran in Tom Lawler, but you said it the best way that I, for some reason, even think about it when I was researching. You don't know what you're going to get. And
right.
You see the Tom Lawler where he is Tom Filthy Lawler, where he's just awesome. And you think, okay, well, now he's going to make that move. And then there's other fights where it's like, what just happened? And this is only his second fight back. He took over 2 years off from injuries, and he had a nice knockout win in his fight back. But I am really curious to see what he has. Lawler's known for, being that dirty boxer. He likes to get inside, get to the ground, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. Anderson is he's young, he's hungry, he's world-class wrestling, ground abilities. Like you say, he's a blue belt, and I think he said jiu-jitsu or whatever that was. And
Yep.
And the part that I was reading and really intrigues me, and this is why if I had to make a play on this fight, and I don't want to, just like you said, is I like Anderson by knockout, and this is why. He has been spending a lot of time developing his striking game with Mark Henry, who is the coach of one phenomenal striker named Frankie Edgar. And Frankie Edgar is one of the best boxing striker, whatever you want to call him, guys in all of the UFC. If you don't understand that, you just aren't paying attention to a Frankie Edgar fight. The way he moves in and out. The way he moves in and out, the way he moves around, the way he lands him. He's so good. He's crisp and smooth, and can't say enough good things about Frankie Edgar's striking. Anderson's been working with him a lot, and Tom Lawler has known to be very, very hittable. Anderson works at a very fast pace, and I just don't know if Lawler's going to be able to keep up. And we both said it. If the right Lawler shows up, heck, he can knock out Anderson, and, we're just laughing at this one later. But if I had to make a wager on this and to make a 285 favorite a little more affordable, I'd either A, parlay him, or B, I'd do Anderson by knockout or inside the distance. That'd be my play on the fight if I were to make one.
Yeah, another thing I look at is the speed of Corey Anderson. I watched a couple of his fights, and he's a lot quicker than Lawler. And you say with the improved striking, he will. I think he'll show that. But with his speed, I think the line's telling you something here. Granted, they've both fought one of the guys that's on this card, and Lawler beat him by knockout, and Anderson was knocked out by him. But yet, Anderson's a -280 favorite. So I think the line's kind of telling you something here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's one of those, like I said again, Lawler could do it, and we wouldn't even be that surprised. But like you said, I think that athleticism, that speed, that pace that Anderson's going to bring, it's going to get it done. Speaking of that man that beat Anderson and Lawler beat, next up on the fight card is one Gian. God, I'm going to butcher this. Viante.
Viante, yes.
Yeah, he'll be taking on Ilir Latifi, the Sledgehammer, and that is one heck of a name, and he has earned it. Vilante's 14-6. He's a plus 165 dog, fighting Latifi, who's 12-4 and a minus 205 fave, and this is in the light heavyweight division yet again, the 205 division. What's your take on this fight?
This fight's going to be pretty interesting. I actually watched Latifi when he fought. Who was it? Jagar Mousasi. And he actually performed pretty good against him. So he's won 4 of his last 5 fights. He's coming off a KO win over Sean O'Connell. I like what I see out of Latifi. I really do. As far as Viante is concerned, well, not much I like about him, to be honest. Just here real quick. Oh, shoot. I'm scrolling through my notes here because I was watching fights.
No problem.
Viante is kind of a brawler. He's got some power, and I to be honest, I don't think this fight's going to last too long. But I kind of like Latifi here. I think Latifi's the better, well-rounded fighter. He's got some Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's a better wrestler. I just think I like Latifi here, but I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah, no, this is another one of those. It reminds me of the Thatch fight. It reminds me of the Silva fight. It's two guys that are just going to wail on each other, and it's going to be. This is what makes MMA great. I was going to bring it up before I forgot. Literally, anybody can win with one punch, and this defines that fight. Like, sure, Latifi, 4 of the last 5. He's won 4 of his last 5. All 4 of those wins, I believe. He finished inside the first round. His last 2, he's won inside the first minute. So basically, what we're saying on this one is don't leave the couch. Like, I could try to be all technical and tell you what's going to happen and blah, but literally, it's going to be 2 guys wailing on each other. Violante is going to have the height advantage, the reach advantage, a 5-inch reach advantage. A 5-inch height advantage, 3-inch reach. Latifi's a little guy. He's only 5'8", which is very small for 205.
He's huge. He's huge.
But do not let that fool you, because he's nicknamed the Sledgehammer for a reason. If I was going to do anything on this fight, it'd be take the under. And if you want, take Latifi by knockout or parlay it. But I think the under is a little safer just because Villante can surprise people. Heck, he's ranked 13th in the light heavyweight division. Latifi's not even ranked. So there's a reason for this. Latifi, in his 1 loss out of 4 of his last 5, he got knocked out in the first round. So it just goes to show you kind of what's going to happen in this fight, or should happen in this fight. So definite fireworks. It's going to definitely give UFC a lot of time to promote the co-main event right after it. So enjoy all your Joe Rogan sweating all over your screen as and just like that, I'll just parlay this into the next fight. We're gonna go in now to the co-main event of the night, the title fight of the night for the women's bantamweight title. If you have the 10-0 minus 350 favorite Holly Holm, defending her title for the first time against Misha, and here's a great nickname for you, Cupcake Tate. But don't tell her that; she'd probably beat the crap out of you. She's 17-5, and she's plus 260 dog. You got the preacher's daughter or Cupcake, Doc?
Man, I'm gonna have to go with Holm here. I like Holm a lot. before she fought Ronda Rousey, I was almost convinced that Holm was going to win, because Holm is world-class boxer, world-class striker, world-class kickboxer. A big thing for me about the Rousey fight, and I'm going to kind of go on a little Rousey tangent here, tirade here, but some may call me just an idiot. I don't care. I'm putting it out there. I think Ronda Rousey is probably one of the most overrated UFC champions there ever been. The fact that she's pretty hot. Brian, she hot? Is she hot?
I'm with you. I know some guys aren't into that whole, kind of can be like a man guy, but hey, when she gets out of the octagon, she dresses up just fine, and I don't know. I'm not going to get too far into it.
She's an attractive woman.
Yeah,
She's an attractive woman. We can both agree with that.
I've enjoyed her SI swimsuit issues.
Yeah. But I think a lot of that has to go with who. I mean, you got to take a look at who she fought, and she didn't really fight anybody. I mean, she fought Tate twice, and Tate gave her a fight. And but I mean, some of these people that she was just finishing within a minute. I mean, they weren't even in the class of Holly Holm. And this is what happens when you're the champion. You're reading your own press clippings, and you just it just brings me back when Tyson got knocked out by Douglas, and my stepfather and I were watching it, and he was like, "There's always somebody better." Well, right now that person who's better is Holly Holm, and if they fight again, God, I pray to God that they make Rousey the favorite, because Holm's going to beat her. Holm's the better striker, and the big thing for me about Holly Holm is where she fights out of, the Greg Jackson camp. It's one of the top camps in all of MMA. They're always well prepared. You look at John Jones, the way he fights. I mean, he just picks his opponents apart. They find an opponent's weakness and they exploit it. And the weakness that Ronda Rousey had was she had never gone against a premier striker. And that's what Holly Holm is. I actually think that Tate's actually will probably give her a better fight, to be honest, because I think Miesha Tate's a better striker than Ronda Rousey. But in the fight leading up, when Holly Holm was fighting in the UFC, she was making her debut. She was pretty dominant, but she wasn't like knocking girls out. She was just, unanimous decision. I could kind of see that going this way. Miesha Tate's tough, man. She's a pretty tough girl, She doesn't give up. She's got a lot of heart. I'll give her that. I would look to put Holly Holm in a parlay or something. I can't lay that kind of juice. I don't think it. I'm not going to promise. I can't say that. I definitely think Holly Holm's going to knock her out. But I think Holly Holm's going to win. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't see Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate, she's a good fighter. Probably maybe the number 3, number 4 women bantamweight in the world. But it's Holm here or pass. And for me, I'm passing. But Holly Holm's going to win. Just put her in a parlay or something. Maybe Holm by decision. I don't know.
You read my mind. You said a lot of things I was looking at, and the kind of things I'll bring into it is, okay, I'll go on the other side of things, and I'll say the kind of thing that scares me the most about Holm, and I agree with everything you said about her, is all the pressure in this fight is on Holly. Miesha has nothing to lose in this fight.
Right.
And there is something to be said about a person's first title fight. And you've seen it happen in most fighters that are qualified are just fighting, and Holm is qualified. But there's something to it, and she knows as much as everybody. She's heard it since she beat Ronda the first time, that the rematch will be bigger than ever. And now, instead of just getting the rematch, she has to go through another fighter who's a very capable fighter, like you said. And I agree as well that I think Tate's I hate discounting Rousey. Like, I don't disagree with what you said about her. She's very talented. But if you try to stay on your feet with Holm, that's what's going to happen.
Right.
Tate does bring that angle that she can take it to the ground. And Holm is very capable on the ground, but it totally changes things. And you saw that in Holm's first few fights in the UFC. They went the distance for a reason. And I think it'll be different because Tate's not dumb either. She knows better to stand up with Holly and get the same effect.
Right.
Look for Holly to, get space and try to find her shots like she did against Ronda. Ronda made it easier by coming to her. Tate's not going to come to her. So there's going to be that factor involved. Tate's very good. It wouldn't surprise me, I guess I should say, but at the same time it would. I think Holm wins. If I was going to play something on this fight, I would take over 3.5 rounds because over 2.5 is minus 220, and again, too much. You might as well just take Holly Holm almost at that point. And but you hit what I kind of like the best. If you don't parlay it, takes Holm by decision because that's plus like 300 or 400. You might lose it, but that's a heck of a value play to take a stab at because I think this fight goes the distance, and if it goes the distance, I definitely think it goes to Holly Holm. So I think that there's some value behind that. And I will also reiterate one thing you mentioned, and I can't agree with it more. I mentioned it with Nunez fighting at ATT. I mentioned it with Anderson now using Mark Henry, Frank Yeager striking coach. Holly Holm training in Albuquerque, New Mexico with Greg Jackson cannot be ignored. It is so huge. Yep. Who people train with is gigantic. And you can't go anywhere else better than Greg Jackson's gym right now. So with that being said, I agree. I believe this is a Holmes fight, and I hope she gets that rematch with Rousey so she can just shut it up and finish things, and Rousey can just go make expendable 9 through 15 and call it good. Go do what she's meant to do. She's not a fighter. Like you said, she's good. She's talented. I'm trying not to make it sound like it's bad, but she didn't fight anybody worth a crap. Right. Look, Betch Correa, are you kidding me? Holly Holm would make it so she couldn't talk trash anymore. It would just it's not feasible. Rousey's good. I'm not saying she isn't, but she's not on the pedestal people have put her on, and that's part of the problem. That's the best way I can sum that up.
Brian, I'm going to bring up another point about Rousey. She did fight one fighter that was good, and that's Kat Zingano.
Yes.
And I think, and I actually took Zingano that fight. I took Zingano. It was like ridiculous, plus 900 odds. I actually thought that Zingano would win that fight because Zingano is a very well-rounded fighter. Not as good on the ground, of course, as Ronda, but she's definitely the better striker. Zingano's game plan was just bad.
It was foolish.
Ran right at her, and it was almost like it was almost bad as a game plan as Ryan Bader's game plan like about a month ago
against Rumble. Yeah, that was horrible.
Against Rumble, he shot way too early. Yeah. So. And I think Zingano just pretty much handed her the fight there. So, I think we're both in agreement there.
Yeah, and there's a reason Ronda never took the Cyborg fight, and I'll leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that, and that'll take us to the main event of the evening, one that we thought was going to make a two-time champion. And we have Conor McGregor, 19-2, minus 600 favorite for now. That line just keeps climbing. And the money seems to be coming in on Diaz, who's 19-10 and plus 400. We talked about it a little earlier. This was originally supposed to be against Rafael Dos Anjos for the welterweight title at 170. Conor, this is a better weight class for him. That's what he walks around with. I was watching an interview on UFC Tonight. Conor can't even eat enough food right now to keep at 170. So he's going to be as fresh as he basically can be, I would imagine. Diaz always stays in shape. It's a very interesting fight, very interesting. I have my opinion. It keeps kind of wavering, but I have my opinion, and I kind of want to know because you like taking dogs. So I'm really curious to see what you like in this fight.
Woof woof.
Yep.
Give me the dog all day. All right. I don't understand how Conor McGregor is this big of a favorite. I really don't. Conor McGregor is entering the Rousey stratosphere. Can we agree that everybody's thinking that Conor McGregor's unbeatable? I actually was at work today, and I saw something pop up on Twitter that on Colin Cowherd said that Conor McGregor would be open to fighting Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, no, Conor's
Okay.
coming in a few places.
Okay, hey Conor, why don't you focus on who you have in front of you? This guy Nate Diaz took apart some well-respected fighters. Let's see, who's the last? Let's see.
His last fight was against Michael Johnson. It was very impressive.
Yeah, it was. Gosh, who's the guy that fights everybody? He fights like every 3 weeks.
Cerrone.
Donald Cerrone. Took apart Donald Cerrone. Dominated him. And nobody's giving this guy a shot. Okay. Diaz, both Diaz brothers, Nate and Nick, they've been in some wars. And they've got a lot of experience in the UFC. I think we can both agree on that. Nate's got the advantage. He's comfortable fighting at 170. I just don't understand how McGregor is this big of a favorite and he's moving up. He was supposed to be fighting at 155. Now he's fighting at 170. What happens if this goes past 2 rounds? What happens if this goes past the 3rd round into the championship rounds? Advantage Diaz. Diaz has the reach advantage. He's the bigger fighter. I mean, McGregor can fight. He's got power. I will admit it, but this is the way I'd play it. Okay, you take Diaz and you call it a night, and you just wait and see. Okay, or you could do it this way. You could parlay. You could take 2 fighters that you really like, maybe Nunez, maybe Holly Holm, and maybe Conor McGregor inside the distance. Because I think if Conor McGregor wins, it's going to be inside the distance. Yeah. And right now, I'm looking at Conor McGregor inside the distance, minus 280.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Conor McGregor, and he's not going to win by submission. He's going to win by knockout if he wins. So Conor McGregor via knockout, 270. So not much difference.
Nuts. It's nuts.
So I would parlay McGregor and hedge with Diaz. That's what I do. That's how I'd play it. And just try to, everybody and their mother's going to be putting Conor McGregor in their parlays. And you know what happens when that mush gets to that favorite, and everybody's saying it's a big win, it's a sure thing, but there's no such thing as a sure thing in the UFC. And McGregor's going to be out of his element a little bit, and I think Diaz has the mental toughness that Conor McGregor is not going to get into his head. Diaz is a tough kid. He's a veteran. He's been in a lot of fights. He's got a great ground game, good jiu-jitsu, well-rounded fighter, got the reach advantage. He's a boxer. He can fight. I really don't see how anybody could just lay this kind of juice with Conor McGregor fighting 25 pounds from his normal weight. Just don't see it. I mean, yeah, I understand that some people say, yeah, he walks around at 170. He walks around 160. He has to cut weight. Well, okay, I guess we'll see. But I'm really looking for. I actually think this is a better fight than Dos Anjos. And I think Dos Anjos would have gave Conor a run for his money, because Conor was only a minus 145 favorite. I was leaning towards taking Dos Anjos there. McGregor, I give him all the credit in the world. I think he's great. I think he's a great fighter, and I picked him against Aldo. I think he's a great fighter. But when you travel out of your element into a different weight class, and now you're going up 2 weight classes. This is a totally different ball game. And if he goes into the late rounds, he's never been into the championship rounds before. So we'll see. But Diaz or nothing for me. And you know where I'm going, so.
Yep, I had a feeling this is what you're going to go with. I have Diaz's kind of his record and his previous fights, and I'm just going to give people some names here. And we'll start with 2011. He lost to Rory McDonald in April 30th of 11. But after that, he beat
No shame there.
No, exactly. This is what I'm trying to. This is what I'm pointing at. The competition he's faced. Then after that, he goes and beats Takanori Gomi, who was a world class fighter. Beats Donald Cerrone. Beats Jim Miller. Loses a 5-round decision title fight to Benson Henderson. Loses to Josh Thompson. Beats Greg Maynor. Goes the distance and loses against Dos Anjos. And then he comes out and beats Michael Johnson, who was about a fight away from getting the title shot. So I agree with everything you said about Nate Diaz. The guy's legit, phenomenal boxer. He can pick you apart with the jab, come over the top with the right hook.
Yep.
His ground game is so impressive. The jiu-jitsu he brings to the ground. He can move so smoothly, transition to submissions. He can get on top and fight you. He's very, very talented, not to be taken lightly. But I like I said, I don't disagree with anything you said, but I'm a little biased, and it bit me in the ass with Donald Cerrone. even though I knew Cerrone would lose to Dos Anjos, I picked him to lose against Dos Anjos. I love Conor, I just do, and it's one of those things that I'll sink with the ship until I'm proven wrong type thing. I used to doubt this man, and after what he's done his last 3 or 4 fights, I can't do it anymore. The guy just goes out there and he gets the job done. This increase in weight will be very, very interesting to see. The pace Conor brings will be very interesting because Diaz likes to kind of sit around and pick his spots. And that's where Diaz can get in trouble is when guys pressure him, take him out of his element, he starts talking trash, and he starts trying to get into your head. Well, the guy he's facing can talk trash and get inside your head. So it won't work as well compared to other fighters he's faced. I don't see Diaz ending the fight, but unless it gets to the ground, he submits him. Now that's a very, very possible thing.
Yep.
But because, like I said, his ground game is scary. I love Conor. The juice is ridiculous. I agree. I really do like your idea because we'll get to some bets here pretty soon about parlaying Conor and then hedging it with some Diaz because you could hedge it for a lot less and still make out some cash. I like that idea a lot, and I might be jumping on that train because I'm not saying Diaz is going to win, but the line is ridiculous. Like, and that's kind of – I think that's a lot of what you were trying to say without – I'm not saying you don't think Diaz is going to win, but you were definitely pointing out how just dumb that line is. And
stupid.
That's like you said. I know
public perception.
That's all it is, and it's just like the Holly Holm Ronda Rousey line that you cashed in huge on, and it might get up to plus 600 by fight night. So,
yep.
I have Conor by knockout. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 3 or 4 rounds, but this goes back to the way I just don't doubt the man anymore. He's calling a first-round knockout. I don't know why he won't anymore, but it's horrible analysis on my part. But it's just the way it's just so hard to doubt this man anymore. But for a little comedic sake, there is a big part of me I would love to see Nate Diaz win. A, because he's from Northern California, close to Milestone.
Yeah.
And B, John Anik, who's a very good UFC reporter, analyst, etc. Has a weekly podcast with Kenny Florian. It's very good. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's actually a really good podcast.
It is good.
It's a really good one. He gets good, like really good stuff, and it's not 5 hours long like Ariel Helwani's, so you can actually listen to this one. But what he agreed to do is because he does a lot of gambling on that podcast, which kind of brings us back to our interesting stuff. If Nate Diaz wins, he's going to get a 209 tattooed on him. And I don't know about you, but that's pretty darn entertaining to me. So I'd be down to check that one out, and that gives me a little more push to root for Nate. But in the end, I could see some Guinness being poured and some ole, and it's so hard for me right now to see the Connor train stop, but it will one day, just like Silva stopped, just like Rousey stopped. We kind of started out the show talking about it. It comes to an end eventually. I just don't think it's this weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the 5-fight main card, and I thought that was some pretty good analysis by both sides of the party here. No bias there, but let's get into the best bet of the night or best bets of the night. Kind of what's your because we both kind of said it throughout the deal. There's not a ton of fights that kind of catch your attention to want to put money on, but if you did, what would you be looking at?
I'm looking at Amanda Nunes, minus 130. I think she should, honestly. You take a look at the body of work, both fighters. I think Nunes should be higher favored, to be honest. I think we're getting some value here. Like I said before, I'm not going to repeat the whole thing, but she's the more well-rounded fighter. I think she could submit Shevchenko, but who knows? But I think she's the more well-rounded fighter. She has more experience in the octagon, and like you said, it is a big deal, experience. And Shevchenko, I think this is her first main card pay-per-view. Not for Nunes; she's been here before. She's been in a lot tougher fights. I think I just think she's the better fighter, and I think she's going to take care of business. And I think she'll be fighting Holly Holm next.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I did two best bets, and Nunes was my favorite. So I am 100% on board with you on that one. The line kind of confuses me why it's so close, so maybe I'm looking at it wrong. But out of all the fights we see on this card with some of these long odds, this one's one of the shortest ones. I just don't get it. But yeah, I love Nunes. I think she is going to win, and I would love to see her fight Holly Holm. It might be too early for Nunes to fight her, but it would be a good fight. The other one I looked at is because I don't take all favorites. If you guys paid attention to my Twitter feed last week, I tweeted out I like 3 dogs in McGregor, Latis, and Bisbing, and 2 out of 3 hits. So I don't take all favorites. I'm not as doggy heavy as Doc usually is, but it works out for him. But one parlay I like is Silva, Anderson, and you can go Connor, and that pays out at plus 125. You can change it to be Connor inside the distance, like Doc was talking about, which would raise your odds, or you can put Holm in there if you want. I like the idea of Connor in there because when Silva and Anderson win, then I can hedge with Diaz for like $50, and I'm guaranteed to win some cash. So those are kind of my bets I'm looking at. Let's just recap for the listeners real quick. Do a little rapid fire. I'll name the fight. Who do you think is going to win? Nunes, Shevchenko. You got Nunes. No one's over that.
Correct.
Anderson, Waller.
Anderson.
Same here. Villante, Latifi. Latifi for me as well. But like I said, take that fight under 2.5. It's not lasting long. Not lasting long at all. In the co-main event, bantamweight women's title, Holly Holm, Misha Tate. You have
Holly Holm.
Yes, sir. I like that one to go deep over 3 rounds or so. And for the main event of the evening, Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz. You are barking at the moon, aren't you?
Woof woof, Nate Diaz.
There we go. 209 representing all the way back on the East Coast with Doc. Okay, well, the next event coming up for the UFC is they just love to keep pumping it out. And I think I wrote this down wrong, but let me double check. I had it. Yeah, I got the wrong date. It's Saturday, March 19th. We'll have UFC Fight Night, Hunt versus Mir, co-main event, Lombard Magny. The rest of the fight card doesn't scream big name, but it's entertaining nonetheless. Most cards are. If you watch it enough, you'll see them and enjoy them. So that'll be coming up on the 19th. we'll see how this is perceived, and even if it's not perceived well, we'll probably do it again. So with that being said, Doc, do you have any final words you want to leave anybody with?
No, not really. Well, actually, the next fight card going to be a pretty good one. I'm looking forward to it, especially because one of our fighters, Hector Lombard, is going to be fighting. So he's going to be making his return back. I'm pretty excited for that, but I'm really excited for this pay-per-view, man. I really am. I was excited in the first place, but now that Nate Diaz is in there, you either love him or hate him, or you love to hate him or whatever, but Nate Diaz is a great fighter. Conor McGregor's a great fighter. This is going to be a great fight, and I think it's going to go more than a round. It's going to be interesting to see if Conor actually catches Diaz, what Diaz does, because Diaz does have a chin. He lasted 5 rounds with Dos Anjos, or 3 rounds with Dos Anjos, so we'll see. We'll see what happens, but it's going to be an entertaining fight. As you can see by the press conference, I can't wait for the weigh-in. You should check that out, definitely, everybody. The weigh-in's going to be just as entertaining. So good luck. Don't drink too much juice, and have fun.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be a great card. Like you said, that upcoming fight's on the 19th. Mir and Hunt, that's going to just be a war. And Lombard's always great to see. He's going to basically be there to see if Magny's legit or not. So that's going to be another. Going to be another fun card to break down later. But like you said, this could be a very awesome card on Saturday night. It's not as flashy as some people would expect, and it's a juicy card compared to some other fights. But I'm pumped on this main event, like you said. When Dos Anjos went down, there was a lot of guys barking, wanting their shot, and normal, Lorenzo Fertitta and Dana White, they struck gold yet again with Nate Diaz. If you guys don't mind X-rated content, go check out their, and I'm not talking from the porn sense, I'm talking for the language. Go check out their press conference from last week, and even their one today was pretty good too. So go give that a look. Over on sportsdegens.com, we have a UFC 196 DraftKings MMA preview by Fantasy FB Horror. Go check that out. Some very good information. He's also knows Vegas Mookie Bets. He'll be doing some MMA DFS for us for pretty much every UFC fight card. So go check that out. Some good info there. And hit him up with any questions. He's always pretty easy to get in touch with. Again, we have tons of other content coming out. Appreciate all the support for the site. If with anything else you guys would like to see content-wise, or let us know. We're here to help you guys, and we enjoy doing it. With that being said, thanks for listening to episode 9, UFC 196 preview. Catch you next time.